I was the American ambassador to the United Nations under President Carter, and I saw then, as I understood as a student of history, the necessity of a universal organization that would give us an opportunity to establish an instrument of international governance, of world governance, that would enable us to deal with problems that can only be resolved if all the nations of the world work together. How are we going to deal with the climate problems, the environmental problems, the health problems, the terrorist problems? How are you going to deal with those unless you have an instrument where the nations of the world can come together and their leaders can come together to try to find common solutions? Now, there's the beginning, you have the G8 and you have the G20 and you have the United Nations, but those things have to be brought up to date. New generations have to be brought into the conversation and into the discussion. We live in an age now of miraculous communication through the internet and through all kinds of instruments of modern technology. Those instruments have to be adapted to governance, and therefore groups like the Collegium International, which are trying to say to the leaders of the world, avoid national interests alone. Avoid looking at the world as though it's only your country that's involved. The problems that you're dealing with are the common problems of mankind. And the common problems of mankind require an international opportunity to resolve them. Probably the most hopeful time in my own lifetime was at the end of World War II, when those who had fought that terrible struggle for human freedom stopped and looked at the world they wanted to create. Stefan Essl has written about it in this wonderful book, Indignez-vous. Franklin Roosevelt talked about it when he gave the great speech of the Four Freedoms and said that the only way you could rationalize and justify the terrible brutality and cost of war was to create a different world, a world based on freedom of expression, freedom of worship, freedom from want, freedom from fear. To accomplish those purposes, the United Nations was founded. And the first great document that came out of it outside of the Charter was the Universal Declaration of Human Rights. The key word is universal. We began to look at the world's problems from a universal point of view. And I think it's fantastic that the so-called elder statesmen of the world, who have ambition for the world but not for themselves, and who have a wonderful basis of experience, can reach out to the young generations and share that knowledge, share that experience, and help them develop the new instruments of international governance that are needed.